The opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official positions of the sponsors, advertisers, or presenters. Advertising does not imply endorsement by the sponsors and presenters.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Lighting Controls podcast. We have another fantastic episode for you today with a guest who's been on the show previously. But before we jump into the conversation, let me take a minute to remind you today's episode is presented by the LCA, the Lighting Controls Academy, newly rebranded from the Lighting Controls Association.
And it's financially supported by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. Check out our website, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. Got all of our episodes and a lot of other information, including information about the new nailed LSC, which is going to start up again in January 2026. Also, huge shout out to our sponsor for this episode. We cannot do this without your support, MW Connect. You should check them out, mwconnect.us. They're an excellent lighting controls platform if you're unfamiliar with them. You may know them as McWong, which is what they used to be called, but they also rebranded, just like Lighting Controls Academy did. They are now MW Connect, but they're still the same great company, providing the same great service nationwide throughout the US and a good chunk of North America in general, but also they're just a really great resource overall. They really are involved in a lot of these conversations that are going on, especially with triple LC, where you have luminaire level lighting controls embedded in your fixtures. They're working really hard to stay on top of what is going on in our industry and provide high quality, innovative solutions for everything. And they're award-winning Bluetooth solutions. So check them out, mwconnect.us. But let's get into the conversation. So today we have Bryan. Bryan, for those who have not seen the episode and maybe don't know who you are, do you mind just giving us a quick breakdown on who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Bryan Lussier. I am the lead control specialist for Apex Lighting here in the Boston area. But I am, on my free time, the DLF New England chapter president. And so my background is in theater and then made its way into architecture. Just my entire career has been how do we make me drumming this drum into a lighting change? And how do I make this computer talk to the other computer, which talks to the other computer, which talks to the other computer?
Right. Well, thank you for joining us again. And, I think the reason we're bringing you on, at least for this episode, to start with is Boston Lights, which is the big event that's going on here in Boston. Do you mind just explaining a bit more about what that is?
Yeah. And again, thanks for having me on. So Boston Lights is the New England's premier lighting design technology show. And it has been around for a couple of years now. And we have 140 plus manufacturers who have signed up for booths. It's not just about lighting for lighting designers. My focus has been this year to talk about technology, talk about controls, get booths that are actually showing off their controls, and focused on all the different genres of lighting, not just landscape, not just commercial, but really emphasize them bring whatever they have to the show, because we don't necessarily need to be as focused as a couple of other shows, being the New England area. And so it's show us what you got. Like if you want people to come, they need to know that there's going to be a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B to maximize their experience when they come see your booth. So I wanted to make sure that it's diversified in the topics and in the product that we're going to see. One thing that I always appreciated about Boston Lights is that it happens in Q3, almost Q4. And so, a lot of the shows happen in March or May where, everyone has released product, but they're riding on that as opposed to the narrative of what's coming up. And so, we'll have a couple of companies that will have prototypes and the latest, greatest, what they have, demos, to really show this stuff is innovating and this is what you're going to see and this is what you're going to be able to buy. And the manufacturers really appreciated that of saying, okay, they saw some stuff early in the year, but we have some fun stuff coming out. And this is how we've taken the feedback from those shows. And we're going to show you here how stuff has developed in the course of the year. So I think that's going to be a really great benefit to a lot of people.
No, I definitely think that that's a really good value add because there is sort of this dry spell that happens in the space between arc light or light fair and education, that it's sort of like, okay, should we set up like a lunch and learn? Should we do this? Should we do that?
Yeah,
So this really gives them that opportunity, especially in the Boston area, because we're pretty much within striking distance of New York, so it's
exactly.
fairly
Yeah.
easy for the New York community to also hop train and get here, to check out the expo. So when is it and where is it?
It is at the Omni Seaport in Boston. So that's in the Seaport district, and it will be October 28th from 8:30 to 6 o'clock.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean,
So
and a one-day event is a really good, just tightly packed sort of thing. I mean,
mhm.
people can train in first thing in the morning, train out, at the end of the day. You don't have to get a hotel room. You don't have to stay if you don't want to. But I like those little condensed shows. I mean, I like all shows, but I like
Mhm.
the condensed shows because of the fact that you really do kind of just get going, and you see the expo hall, you see the seminars you want to see, and then you're out, you're done for the day. So
Yeah,
it's
I think we all have that experience that you're hitting on of like the first day is really the like boots on the ground, show me what you
Mhm,
got, and then the couple, if you have a show that has a couple of days extra, it's sort of filler, but it's more on the
mhm.
networking side of things, and
Right.
we'll have breakout rooms, and we have after parties, and we have all sorts of different uh, avenues for networking, as well as
Mhm,
if you're here to see the show, you're here to see the show, and there's going to be lots of show to see. And I think that 140 booths is a good amount of not overwhelming and feeling like you're not going to be able to see everything. And saying like, I got my money's worth, which is free, by the way. It's free to register
oh
for
yeah.
Boston Lights. So there's really no reason why you can't go and attend. Um, and that way, it's just about maximizing that experience, maximizing the manufacturer's time, maximizing the designers or the engineers or the architects who we hope will be there to understand what lighting is. Because I've worked with many architects, and they're very good at understanding how mullions and glass and the overall framing
Mhm,
works, but they don't understand how the lighting works. The engineers are focused on code, but not necessarily on the controls. And you have designers who some are having like and understanding the importance of lighting design controls and having controls designers on their teams, but there are also others that are saying, I'm going to delegate that out to somebody, and it's say like, cool,
mhm,
great, but where's your sequence of operations? Where's your
mhm,
what are you looking for? Are we aiming for IEC 21? Do you want to do 24? Like what are we doing with the space? And an RFI like that is frustrating, to say the least, when it
mhm,
comes to,
mhm.
I understand you thought about what this, recessed 6-inch fixture is going to be, but you specified 0 to 10, and what do you want to do?
Mhm.
You were thinking of controls because you specified some degree of controls. Um, as as we've talked about before, it's like when you start placing those fixtures down, you're already thinking about controls. Um,
Right.
but I've also had experiences where a designer's thought about layers of light, 5 layers up and down in the entire room, and they want to do 0 to 10, and it's like, but this fixture is DMX, and you aren't using all the DMX addresses. So
Right.
let's think about what you're doing controls wise. Cause the
Mhm.
first fixture, as I've mentioned in the previous podcast, of first fixture is $10,000, between the controller and the integration
Right.
and, what do you want to do with it? But then your 512th fixture or your 128th, depending on what you're doing color changing wise, that's relatively free. You're just paying for the cost of the fixture. So me doing 7 different zones of 0 to 10 isn't really maximizing the
Mhm.
space, and we can get a far, not only granular control out of that, but you're going to save the client a lot of money if you're actually thinking about layers
Right.
of light in a digital addressing form. um and then there's dolly, of course, and just like, again, if the
Mhm.
space doesn't have DMX and you're thinking 7 layers of light, let's talk about your control scheme, because
Right.
it's just a waste to have 7 power packs in the space, um, when you could have one. So those are things that I
So
hope of of people getting away from Boston Lights, of like the control side and the fixture side and how these things are becoming more complicated, but at the same time approachable.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who haven't been to the show before, you have the
Mhm.
show set up essentially by representative, right? You have
Yeah.
aisles and areas set up by rep for the various manufacturers that they are part of, right? So for people who are, really looking they have a really good relationship with rep A or rep B, or they want to use controls from this rep, it gives them an opportunity to sort of work with that rep team and go through the aisles. And can you explain a little bit about why you chose to sort of set up the show that way versus having manufacturers just sort of all over the floor randomly?
Yeah, so part of it is taking Leducation, which is brought to you by the Designers Lighting Forum of New York, where the show floor is based on agency there. So when I go to Leducation, it takes me a little bit of time to orient myself because different lines are with different people and
Mm-hmm.
just different markets. But in the ways of we need our agents to be invested in the show for Boston Lights to survive. I also think that it is relatively approachable because we do it that way from a relationship perspective of you know Boston Light Source, exposure, and generally the lines, and so being able to be in the exposure area, be in the apex area helps you understand like, oh, I may not have seen this line from a lunch and learn that, somebody has done, but this
Mm-hmm.
is actually something that we could use because you never know like what sort of problems or challenges some engineer or some designers having. And, sometimes you have your A tiers and your general go-tos, but then you have to think about your B tiers and your C tiers as you go through budget, but you're not necessarily thinking about this product because you hadn't seen it or your rep hadn't
Mm-hmm.
brought them in to do that sort of learning experience. But then you understand like the breadth of the agent and breadth of the line, and your agent can also walk you around the space and show you their space and their areas to help you feel guided along, if you so wish, or you can just walk the floor freely. Um, because I think that everyone has a lot of choice overload when it comes to how many lines you're repping, how many lines you have to work with, what you're specifying, and I think that working within the agencies and those groupings help give it flow and also
Mm-hmm.
just a general sense of where to start
Yeah.
in that process.
No, and I mean, I can speak to that as well as when I was working as a sales rep. It would be so frustrating if my lines were spread across the
Yeah,
entire show floor, and God forbid it's at Leducation of all things, and then you got to go multiple floors and navigate around. So having it like that is actually quite uh, consistent and easy to navigate, and also if you set up your own booth, you can kind of just have that visibility of all the booths around you. And so it is a nice way. I just came back from ArcLight Summit. They had the same
mm,
format as well. And so I think that is sort of the direction that a lot of these exhibit halls are going when it comes to their vendors that they have on the floor. But also, I mean, so you mentioned that this is free to get onto the show floor, but there's also
yep,
CEUs that people can pick up while they're there, and just
yep.
want to hear a little bit because I know there are a good number of seminars there that are actually quite exciting. I'm going to see if I can actually navigate my way into to check out a couple of them.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. So there were really 4 points that I wanted to address with the CEUs. We had 6 speakers in 23. We wanted to nix a keynote speaker and actually use the funding to get to have 6 more opportunities for designers and for manufacturers to have more sessions. We have 7 sessions that have AIA credits to them, which again we're really fantastic about. So you can room
Yeah.
hop and just get all your credits back, or see something that doesn't have credits because it's a really interesting topic. They're going to be focused on energy codes, on 21 and ASHRAE, local updates. They're going to be focused on human-centric lighting and design integration, focused on sustainability. wellness, and smart controls, as well as using case studies to
Hmm.
show how the stuff worked, didn't work, challenges. Um, so one of the presentations that we're going to be doing is focused on outdoor lighting, focused on the title of the presentation, I think, is one size does not fit all, and
Mm.
understanding how you can have these different throw values up and down the pole, understanding how this cove fixture may be great, but in this area, maybe cove with optics makes more sense. And so you have more of
Hmm.
a grazing experience, and just balancing out the light, because, if you're down at street level, you have a lot more light pollution than you do if you're looking at something that's,
Hmm.
50 feet, 100 feet up in the air. And so maybe you don't need the lumen package that you have down on floor level, because if from optics perspective, if you're just going to pull that back 50%, then it's a, well, you could have saved yourself and the client a little bit more money. So those are just some basic topics that I would expect from that.
Sure.
And then, as well as, this pole is existing,
Hmm.
and so getting controls to it may be a little bit more of a challenge than a new pole, which you can run new conduit. I have a project right now that's exactly just that, of half the poles are existing, half of the poles are new, and they're like, man, cool, you've just ripped them all out. Like, so, uh,
Well, and so out of personal curiosity, what direction are you going with that?
we have half existing and half new, and so the new poles will have conduit for power and data, and the new pole and
Hmm.
the old poles, they're just gonna have to fish and lay
Mm.
DMX line in with the high voltage. And so
Yeah.
we shall, yeah, we I love DMX because it's rated for that, but
Right.
it's still
There's a little
fishing
bit
through
of risk in
cable.
there.
There's always a
Yep.
little bit of risk. Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
So
But I mean, if you don't mind us just peeling the curtain back a little bit to kind of get a
mhm.
sense of this, when you're setting up a conference and you're going through like speaking engagements and who's going to talk, how do you do that? Like, what's the process?
Yeah. So we had a call for speakers earlier in the year, and yeah, I wanted to focus on trying to diversify the topics. I, as president, didn't want topics that were for lighting designers and only for lighting designers.
Mm,
I didn't
mhm,
want this to feel like a lighting designer exclusive experience. I wanted, for because of the Boston market and how it works, like, you can have interior designers, you can have electrical engineers. I wanted a deep breadth and a lot of choice when it came to the
mm,
presentations. And so, based off of the submissions that we got, we were able to put together, I think, a stellar team of 12 presenters, 12
mhm.
topics to really get a. These are the topics that are on people's minds, and there's going to be something for everyone to go and register for.
No, I think that that's really great because there is some times where you're just sort of like, okay, how did they curate this list here?
Mm,
But I think that that makes sense, like having these four bullets that you're targeting and trying to get as diverse a group as possible because Boston Lights, like you said, it really does cater to a wide array of different people. It's not just lighting designers showing up there. And in fact, we're going to be doing a live stream episode, and we're going to be wrangling a utility person and a contractor onto the stage and talking to them. So, hopefully, we'll get a chance to kind of engage that side of the industry as much as the lighting side and the interior design side. But
yeah, I'm excited to hear those topics as well, because I don't think that anyone in terms of education or LDI or anything like that would pull in those sorts of people to just be like, what's it like on the other side? What are you going through? What are you experiencing? What do you what keeps you up at night,
right.
and understanding, because there's so much an interesting game of telephone when it comes to this industry. Um, there's a lot of designers that don't understand, like, outside of their scope or outside of their drawing, and it's a, like, this
Hmm.
is an interdisciplinary market. This is an interdisciplinary project, so you have to understand that there's more than just your contribution to the job,
hmm
and why it's so important that your paperwork is accurate, because it affects this discipline, this discipline, this discipline. Oh, there's a scope gap. Oh, great. Let's run it back up to
Right.
the chain. So
It's so much to get through, right? I mean, when you start thinking about all of that sort of educational material that you guys are putting out, 140 vendors on the show floor, that's it, depending on sort of what you're there to do, that this feels like a lot to try and get through in one day, right? To go through and sit through some of the classes and go through all the vendors. And so have you found a good mix of, you can really get through the floor if in this amount of time and take X amount of classes? Is there sort of like a perfect happy median for people who haven't been to the show?
this is my fourth Boston Lights that I've helped put on. I don't know if I've found a happy medium yet, to be honest with
Mm,
you, because it's also about what questions are you going to go and ask at the booth, or is the booth
hmm
totally full and you have to come back later? Um, because I hate feeling like a pig at the trough and just kind of not being able to not really
It's a
talk
good analogy.
to the agent, right? Of like, what are we doing? And just be like, okay, I have to wait for this principal to be done. Okay, I have to wait for this guy. Oh, here's a buddy that they haven't seen in a while. Okay, I'll just hover and
Yeah.
then take my time. Um, and because like there's a range of landscape to commercial to decorative to things that there are. We know that one person is not going to have to engage with all of these booths, because they may not be necessarily focused on the decoratives or focused on the landscape. But there's something for everyone, and it's always a balance of how long is the show and how much are we
Mhm,
jam packing in. Can we make this 2 days or 3 days experience? I know the manufacturers are like, hey, I shipped my booth, I'm
mhm,
here, let's make this multi-day. And it's also a balance of the space costs X amount of dollars, your booth costs X amount of dollars. Operation wise, this is a major undertaking, and you know, uh, so it's a like the metrics themselves really right now show themselves as a 1 day event. Maybe
mhm.
we get to multiple days. Maybe we get to having the show annually instead of biannually. But right now, it's a matter of growth and diversity and getting the momentum that we've lost during COVID back in place,
Mhm,
and reassuring the agents, reassuring the manufacturers that local shows are important. Um,
mhm.
yes, education is important, and a light fair has its place, but there's also something to be said about local reps going with their product, using those
Right.
relationships, getting the face time that they need, that they're waiting, that they're clamoring for. Especially because so many offices that I can think of are focused so much on the lunch and learn, and not
Mhm.
having more than one manufacturer or one agent like run into their space because they're busy, and
Right.
which also makes it hard because there's only so many lunches in the course of a week that you can actually
Right.
show product for. So I think that's again why like Boston Lights is important, is because for the manufacturer, they get to tick off that box of like, yes, I got FaceTime with this designer, this principal, this office, because I couldn't get into their schedule until you know
Mm.
26. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we are seeing a growing interest post-pandemic in the regional shows rather than
Hmm.
national shows, and so there is, like you said, there's a strength in that offering.
Yeah.
Some people do really like the national shows, and there's definitely a lot of benefit from having people from all over coming to one location. At the same time, these regional shows are also just incredibly invaluable to the community at smaller than the national level, because you really do kind of see more of the people in that city or that region than you do with a national. But additionally, like you were alluding to, I mean, this delicate balance of, okay, how long, how big, how much.
Mm.
And what's really great, I really appreciate this, is that again, it's free admission to get into the show floor.
Yeah.
There are things that are going to cost, like some CEUs,
Hmm.
but if you just want that 1-2 punch, let me see what's latest and greatest from the manufacturers. that's excellent. And I think, that is a really great opportunity to be able to offer to the community members. So again, maybe it does cost for them to get there, or parking costs money. Now you have to tack on top of all of that admission to the space. It does kind of get a little frustrating. So it's like, no, just get here. So long as you can
Yeah.
get here, you can come in, and that's awesome. So I think, I would love to see more shows kind of replicate that model, because, like you were saying, it really is the vendors in the space that are carrying the lion's share of that cost. And the reason why they're doing that is because they want their stuff to be seen.
Yeah. No, exactly. I remember being a young designer and looking at the cost of parking, and admission and all these sorts of things. And it's like, yeah, I can get refunded for some of these things, but at the same time, it's like, if you're a young professional, an emerging professional, if you're a
Mhm.
student, it does make it, inapproachable to be like, I'm going to drop $100 with registration and transportation and parking and all that stuff to
Mhm.
learn. And I know that we, the DLF, we're focused on education. We're focused on just
Mhm.
accessibility. We want to make sure that the community is coming together and talking about, the important topics, that we're making product accessible, wherever
Mhm.
possible, whatever your discipline is, to make sure that you're maximizing and that you're walking away educated. You're walking away with something, as opposed to just, well, I've dropped $100. I walked around the floor for a little bit. I didn't really interact with a whole lot of people, and now I'm leaving.
Mhm. Right.
That's not ideal.
No, for sure.
No, and I think it's great, especially for younger professionals, people getting in, is the fact that it is set up by the reps, right? So it can be daunting when you're new going to your first show, or even if it's your second show, to go through all these booths, especially with a bunch of manufacturers you may or may not have ever heard of before, and you don't know who has what or who does this or what you're potentially even looking for in some cases. But
Yeah.
being able to meet with those reps gives you the opportunity to engage with the sort of local groups that you're going to work with on a regular basis, meet those people face to face, and then allow them to sort of walk you through various things. And then the boost that you don't have time to get to in that day, the contact now to reach out to now say, hey, I'd really like to do a lunch and learn with this group, or I'd like to know more about them. Can we set something up? Do you have any demo product? And it gives people who are newer in the industry, as opposed to this huge national show where you just kind of wander around aimlessly, the ability to really target, I want to meet people from exposure. I want to meet people from Apex. I want to meet people from, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? And it gives you that opportunity to engage with everyone that you don't get at those national shows, but
Mhm.
at essentially no cost, right? You have to get yourself
Mhm.
there, but other than that, that's probably one of the biggest advantages of regional shows over national shows, especially
Yeah.
for new upcoming professionals, and just understanding that they have all of this accessible to them at their fingertips. It's one day, but it's all there if you just schedule your time appropriately.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're open to distributors who want to come and set up a table, and promote themselves as well if they want to do that. Integrators and yeah, so it's like, it's not just about the lighting element or the reps as well. Again, it's a, like, you want to do business with the DLF, we will figure out a way to do business with you and make sure that you're a part of Boston Lights, because you know photons and zeros and ones are just equally important. And again, it's about, may not everybody knows the importance of a system integrator, and they may not necessarily
Right.
think about that until it's
Mhm.
I have 4 manufacturers on this bill of material, and they all need DMX, or they all need 0 to 10. How, like, who's handling Dolly? Is like, who's handling the addressing, who's handling that,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, are you going to have exposure do some and Apex do others, like, and then you're paying for all these different techs to come on space, or is it,
Right.
do you pay for one? And those resources as well of, again, I don't know everything, every problem that every designer or every electrical engineer is really thinking about when they walk into Boston Lights, but I hope that they
Mhm.
find a solution. I really hope that
Mm.
they find the resource that they're looking for, or in terms of community, in terms of professionalism, in terms of growth, in terms of solutions that really help them understand, like, oh, we could make this better by using this product that I saw. And
Mhm.
hey, rep, why don't you show me some demo work, some demo product? Let me see like how it works. Let me put my hands really on it because I didn't get a chance to do that in Boston Lights, and let's see if this is a good fit for us. It would be, because it may be a completely different direction for them, but at the same time, it may be the right solution for that project, and so
Mhm.
that's what I hope to get out of that. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we're almost out of time here, so let's just package this up, I guess. If you're going to be in the Boston area October 28th, or you have the ability to get to Boston for October 28th, check out Boston Lights. If you want to learn more, you can go to bostonlights.org, which is the website for this event. And this is going to be at the hotel, at the Omni Boston Hotel at the Seaport. So
Right.
Seaport area, if you're unfamiliar with Boston, Seaport area is a very interesting environment now. It used to be a bunch of parking lots, and now it's actually
Yeah.
a really built up environment. A lot of cool architecture there. But also, just in general, the goal here is to provide a resource for people who want to expand their knowledge, their understanding of lighting and lighting controls. There are a lot of exhibitors here who are not just professional lighting manufacturers, but lighting controls manufacturers. You said 140 vendors?
140 vendors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of vendors to check out in one single day. But there's also some great CEUs, some great learning opportunities. And the fact that the show floor is free, I mean, I can't get that out of my head. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so, hopefully people are going to come to this because it sounds like an awesome time.
Yeah, whether you're an architect or an engineer or a designer or a student, there will be something there for you. And shameless plug, there's also sponsor opportunities that are going fast as well. So if you want to be the platinum sponsor, if you want to be the gold sponsor, if you want to have your logo on the lanyard, if you want to have digital marketing work to your favor, you guys are also doing a 15-minute interview sessions all day long on the
Yeah.
floor. So,
Yep.
Yeah. So if
there's
people
opportunity,
want their live stream interview go on the show floor there, please reach out. We're going to
yeah,
be looking for people to be on it.
right? You guys want designers and manufacturers and anybody who's willing to show up, right? So
Yeah,
that's
across the
another
board.
great, yeah. So I thought about the social marketing elements. I thought about the accessibility elements of it. And a huge shout out to Sam Trott and Brianna Cosgrove and Sam Dumphy, who they are also on the board. They are, my rock when it comes to putting this whole thing together. We couldn't do it without our reps and their investment into the whole thing. And so
Mhm.
I'll be walking around the floor, shaking hands and thanking everybody. And I know that there's some people I'm forgetting now that I'll make sure that I'll bring up there while I'm there. But it's not just me; it's a whole army of people trying to put this whole thing together. And I'm just really excited because I think that taking this in an approach of education and not just a place where if you build it they will come, but being like, we will
Mhm.
make this educational, we will make this approachable and attractive, and and again, it's free for anybody who wants to come. So all the costs are baked in. So yeah, and there'll be
Awesome.
lunch,
Brian,
so come for lunch.
thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a huge undertaking to put on a show like this. So congratulations to you and your team. It is a lot of work to put on any sort of show at all. And just the amount that you guys have gone through, every rep, 140 vendors, all the CEUs, you roped us in somehow. I mean, there's just so much going on that it's absolutely fascinating. So you guys have done an absolutely stellar job. Cannot wait to see the show this year. So in case you guys weren't listening, October 28th, it's just around the corner. It's just over a month away at this point in the Omni Boston at Seaport. So definitely make sure you guys are there. We will see you there. Brian will be there. There'll be a lot of other people who've been on the show in the past who will also be there that day. I am sure of it.
Yeah.
So, Brian, thank you
BostonLights.org.
so much.
Thank you.
BostonLights.org. Thank you so much for
BostonLights.org.
everything today. Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
guys. Always appreciate
I
your
will.
time. Thank you.
I will just close this out and remind everyone today's episode is presented by the newly branded or rebranded LCA Lighting Controls Academy.
And is financially supported by the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, or NAILD. Check out our website, lightingcontrolspodcast.com. Got all of our episodes, including the ones that we had Brian on in the past, and a whole lot more. But also, huge shout out to our sponsor for this episode. We cannot do these episodes without your support, MW Connect. If you don't know that name, you might know them by McWong. They're now MW Connect. Check out their website, mwconnect.us. They are an excellent resource for this industry. If you're new or a vet to lighting controls, they have something for you. They're part of the ongoing discussion about lighting controls, especially triple LC and Bluetooth mesh technology. So check them out. But thank you for joining us. And Brian, thank you. This was an awesome conversation.